Hello and welcome to Speak Flow. In this series, we'll learn English by describing real-life situations. You'll see a scene, we'll talk about what's happening, and along the way, you'll learn useful words, expressions, and natural ways to describe things in English. So let's begin with our first situation. Take a look at this scene. It looks like a cheerful birthday celebration taking place in a warm and comfortable living room. There are several people in the room, and the whole place has been decorated for a special occasion. Right in the center, we can see a large table covered with a pink tablecloth. And the first thing that probably catches your attention is the birthday cake. It's sitting right in the middle of the table, with several candles on top. There are also plates, cups, snacks, gifts, and other things arranged around it. So we can say that the cake is the centerpiece of the table. A centerpiece is something placed in the middle of a table because it is meant to attract attention. For example, flowers can be the centerpiece of a wedding table. Here, the birthday cake is the centerpiece. Now let's look at the people. In the middle of the picture, we can see a young woman standing behind the table. She's wearing a light-colored dress and she's smiling. She's holding a small object in her hands, possibly something she's using to serve or prepare the food. We don't know exactly what she's doing, so it's better not to make a definite statement. This gives us a very useful expression. She appears to be. When we say someone appears to be doing something, we're saying that this is what it looks like from what we can see. For example, she appears to be preparing the food. He appears to be waiting for someone. They appear to be enjoying themselves. It's a useful expression whenever you're describing a picture and you're not completely certain about something. Now look at the left side of the room. There's a woman sitting on a chair beside the table. She's holding a knife and she seems to be preparing or cutting something. Notice how we can make our description more precise. Instead of saying, "There is a woman," we can say, "On the left side of the room, a woman is sitting beside the table." The expression "on the left side of" helps us tell our listener exactly where something is. We can also say, "On the right side of the room," "in the middle of the picture," "near the table," "behind the sofa." These expressions are simple, but they're extremely useful when describing a scene. Now let's move toward the right side. We can see another woman standing beside the sofa. She's holding a cup and looking toward the people in the room. She seems relaxed, as if she's enjoying the celebration. And here's another expression that can make our English more natural. Take part in. If you take part in something, you participate in it. For example, she took part in the birthday celebration. Several students took part in the competition. Everyone took part in the discussion. So instead of simply saying, "She is at the party," we could say, "She is taking part in the celebration." Now look down at the bottom right corner. There's a young boy sitting on the floor. He's holding a present in his hands. And around him, we can see several other gifts. One of the gift boxes in the foreground has been opened, and there is wrapping paper lying around it. This gives us a useful word, wrapped. When we cover a present with decorative paper, we say that the present is wrapped. So we can say, "He is holding a wrapped present." And when someone removes the paper, we use the word unwrap. For example, she unwrapped her birthday present. He couldn't wait to unwrap the gift. So remember, wrap describes the present before the paper is removed, while unwrap describes it after the paper has been removed. There's another useful word here, scattered. Look at the floor. The wrapping paper isn't in one neat pile. It's spread around different parts of the floor. So we can say, wrapping paper is scattered across the floor. Scattered means spread around in different places. We can use this word in many situations. For example, books were scattered across the table. Leaves were scattered along the road. Toys were scattered around the room. It's a much more descriptive word than simply saying, There are things on the floor. So now look around the room. There are colorful balloons attached to different parts of the room, and some are floating near the walls. We can also see colorful triangular decorations hanging across the room. These decorations are called bunting. Bunting is a line of small pieces of colored paper or material, often used to decorate a place for a celebration. You might see bunting at a birthday party, a wedding, a festival, or a school event. So instead of saying, "There are some decorations on the wall," we can say, "Colorful bunting is hanging across the room." That's a much more precise description. Let's put everything together now. We could describe the scene like this. This is a cheerful birthday celebration in a warmly decorated living room. Several people are gathered around a large table, with a birthday cake placed in the center as the centerpiece. A woman is sitting on the left side of the room, while another woman is standing behind the table. On the right, a woman is holding a cup and looking toward the other guests. A young boy is sitting on the floor with a wrapped present, while gifts and wrapping paper are scattered around him. Colorful balloons and bunting add to the festive atmosphere. Notice what happened. We didn't simply name objects. We described where things are, what people are doing, and how the room looks. That's what makes a description more natural. Before we leave this scene, let's remember a few useful expressions. On the left side of helps us describe position. Appears to be helps us describe something when we're not completely certain. Take part in means to participate. Scattered across describes things spread around an area. And words like wrapped, bunting, and centerpiece help us describe a celebration more precisely. Now let's move on to our second situation. Now take a look at our second situation. We're in a bright and spacious kitchen. There are two people here, and both of them seem to be busy with different tasks. Let's start on the left. We can see a woman standing beside the stove. She's wearing a blue apron, and she's preparing food. There's a large saucepan on the stove, and she's holding a utensil while working with the food. We can also see vegetables on the countertop nearby. This gives us a useful word, ingredients. Ingredients are the different foods or substances that we use to prepare a dish. For example, if you're making a salad, tomatoes, onions, cucumber, and lettuce can all be ingredients. So here we could say, she is preparing the ingredients for a meal. Now look more closely at the area in front of the woman. There is a wooden surface where vegetables have been placed. This is a countertop. A countertop is the flat working surface in a kitchen. You can prepare food, put appliances on it, or simply place things there. For example, she put the vegetables on the countertop. The kitchen has a large wooden countertop. This word is useful because saying simply, the table, would not be accurate here. We're learning to choose the word that describes the object more precisely. There's also a large saucepan on the stove. A saucepan is a deep cooking container with a handle, normally used for cooking things such as soup, sauce, vegetables, or other food. So rather than saying, there is a pot on the stove, we can be more specific and say, there is a saucepan on the stove. And notice another useful expression. On the stove. We say that when something is placed on the cooking surface where the burners are. For example, there's a saucepan on the stove. Dinner is cooking on the stove. Now let's move toward the right side of the kitchen. There's a man standing near the sink. He's holding a mop and cleaning the floor. And if you look carefully, you can see water spread across several tiles. So this is a perfect opportunity to learn the word spill. When liquid accidentally falls onto a surface, we say that someone spills it. For example, I spilled some water on the floor. She spilled coffee on the table. He accidentally spilled milk. And after liquid has fallen onto the floor, we can say, there is water spilled on the floor. The man is mopping the floor. This is another useful everyday word. A mop is the cleaning tool, and mopping is the action of using it to clean a floor. So, The mop is beside him. He is mopping the floor. Notice the difference between the noun and the verb. Mop can be the thing. Mop can also be used as a verb. Just like brush, the object and the action. Clean, the action. Mop, the cleaning tool or the action of cleaning with it. Now look at the area behind the two people. There are wooden cabinets, shelves, plates, cups, jars, bottles, and other kitchen items. The shelves are open shelves because there are no doors covering them. We can see many objects arranged on them. There are also several kitchen utensils and containers. When describing a room, we don't need to mention every single object. Instead, we can group similar things together. For example, the shelves are lined with plates, cups, jars, and kitchen utensils. Lined with is another useful expression. It means that things have been arranged along a surface or row. For example, the street is lined with trees. The shelves are lined with books. Now look toward the window. There is a large window allowing plenty of sunlight into the kitchen. Near the window, we can see some small plants. The sunlight makes the kitchen look bright and welcoming. This is a good opportunity to use the adjective spacious. If a room has plenty of space and doesn't feel cramped, we can call it spacious. For example, the kitchen is spacious. They live in a spacious apartment. The opposite would be cramped. A cramped room is small and doesn't give you much space to move around. Let's now describe the whole kitchen naturally. We could say, this is a bright and spacious kitchen where two people are busy preparing and cleaning. On the left, a woman wearing a blue apron is preparing food beside the stove. A saucepan is cooking on the stove, while vegetables and other ingredients are arranged on the countertop. On the right, a man is mopping the tiled floor. There appears to be some spilled water on the floor, which explains why he's cleaning it. Behind them, the kitchen is lined with wooden cabinets and open shelves filled with plates, cups, jars, and other utensils. That's much richer than, there is a woman and a man in a kitchen. Let's remember the most useful words from this scene. Ingredients are the foods we use to prepare a dish. A countertop is the flat working surface in a kitchen. A saucepan is a cooking container used on the stove. When liquid accidentally falls onto something, we say spill. And when we clean a floor using a mop, we say mop or mopping. These are ordinary words, but they're exactly the kind of words that make everyday English more precise. Now let's move to our third situation. Our third situation takes us somewhere most of us visit regularly, a supermarket. Take a look at the scene. It's a large and brightly lit supermarket with several long rows of shelves. There are people shopping in different parts of the store. In the foreground, we can see a woman pushing a shopping cart. Her cart is filled with different groceries. She's walking through the store and appears to be shopping for several things. The word groceries is useful here. Groceries are the food and household items that people buy from a supermarket. So instead of saying, she has many things in her cart, we can say, she has a cart full of groceries. Now let's talk about the place itself. Look at the long rows of shelves. The spaces between these rows are called aisles. An aisle is a passage between rows of shelves, especially in places like supermarkets. So we can say, she is walking down the aisle. Or, he is standing in the middle of the aisle. This is a very useful word because if you're talking about a supermarket, simply saying the way between the shelves sounds awkward. The natural word is aisle. Now look toward the right side of the picture. There's a woman standing behind a large counter. She's the cashier. A cashier is the person who takes payment from customers in a shop or supermarket. In front of her, we can see a checkout area and a computer screen. The place where customers pay for their purchases is called the checkout. So we can say, the cashier is standing behind the checkout. Or, she is waiting at the checkout. Notice that cashier is the person, while checkout refers to the place or process where you pay. There's another useful expression here: browse the shelves. Look at the customers in the middle of the supermarket. They're looking at different products without necessarily picking something immediately. We can say that they are browsing the shelves. To browse means to look through things casually, usually without having decided exactly what you want. For example, I was browsing the shelves when I found this book. She spent 10 minutes browsing the clothes in the store. So if someone is simply looking at products and deciding what to buy, browse is a very natural verb. Now look at the man in the middle of the picture. He's carrying a backpack and looking toward the shelves. Perhaps he's looking for a particular product. Because we're describing what we can see, we shouldn't pretend to know exactly what he's thinking. We can say, he appears to be looking for something. Or, he seems to be looking for a particular product. Again, words such as appears and seems are very useful when describing situations because they allow us to express an idea without claiming that we know it for certain. Now look at the shelves. They're filled with bottles, boxes, packets, containers, and many other products. Instead of naming every single product, we can describe the overall appearance. For example, the shelves are fully stocked with different products. Fully stocked means that there is plenty of merchandise available on the shelves. A supermarket can be well stocked, fully stocked, or if many things are missing, poorly stocked. So we could say, the supermarket appears to be well stocked. There are also several shopping carts visible in the scene. Notice the verb we're using with them. We say, she is pushing a shopping cart. We don't normally say, she is walking a shopping cart. The verb push is used when you move something forward by applying force from behind. We can say, he pushed the door open. She pushed the cart through the aisle. So one simple verb can make our description much more natural. Let's put all of this together. We could describe the scene like this. This is a busy supermarket with several wide aisles lined with fully stocked shelves. In the foreground, a woman is pushing a shopping cart filled with groceries. Further inside the store, several customers are browsing the shelves and looking at different products. On the right, a cashier is working behind the checkout counter, while another customer waits nearby. The supermarket looks bright, clean, and well organized. Notice how we used several different kinds of English. We described objects. We described people. We described actions. And we also described the overall condition of the place. That's what makes a description interesting. Let's quickly review. An aisle is the passage between rows of shelves. A cashier is the person who takes payment. The checkout is where customers pay. Groceries are the food and household items we buy. Browse means to look through things casually. And fully stocked means that there are plenty of products available. Try using these words the next time you visit a supermarket. Instead of thinking, I'm going shopping, try thinking, I'm walking down the aisle. I'm browsing the shelves. The supermarket is crowded. I'm waiting at the checkout. That little habit can turn an ordinary shopping trip into English practice. Now let's move to our final situation. Our final situation takes us to a railway station. And this time there's a lot of movement happening around us. A train is standing on the platform, and several passengers are either waiting to board or already getting onto the train. Let's start with the person closest to us. In the foreground, we can see a young man carrying a backpack and standing beside a large-wheeled suitcase. He's looking toward the railway information board. He appears to be waiting for his train or checking some information before traveling. The first important word here is platform. A platform is the raised area at a railway station where passengers wait for and board trains. So we can say, passengers are waiting on the platform. The train is standing at the platform. This is different from saying simply, they are waiting at the station. The word platform gives us a much more precise description. Now look toward the train. Several people are getting onto it. The verb we use here is board. When passengers get onto a train, plane, or ship, we can say that they board it. For example, the passengers are boarding the train. We're about to board the plane. Please wait until all passengers have boarded. So instead of saying, they are getting into the train, we can use the more natural expression, they are boarding the train. Now let's look at the luggage. There are several suitcases on the platform. Some passengers are pulling wheeled suitcases behind them. A suitcase is a case used for carrying clothes and other personal belongings when traveling. The general word luggage is also very useful. Luggage means the bags and cases that you take with you when you travel. So we can say, she is pulling a suitcase. But if we're talking about several bags and cases in general, we can say, there's a lot of luggage on the platform. That's an important distinction. Look at the woman near the train. She's walking toward the open doors while pulling a suitcase. Another passenger is already standing in the doorway. This gives us another useful expression. Make your way to. If you make your way somewhere, you move toward that place, especially when you're traveling through a busy or crowded area. For example, she is making her way to the train. He made his way through the crowd. We made our way to the platform. It's a very natural expression for describing movement. Now look farther down the platform. We can see several other passengers walking in different directions. Some are carrying backpacks. Some are pulling suitcases. One person is walking with a small child. The platform is therefore quite busy. We can also describe it as crowded if there are many people in a relatively small space. But there is a small difference. Busy means that there is a lot of activity. Crowded focuses more on the number of people and the limited space. So a railway station can be busy without necessarily being extremely crowded. Now look above the platform. There are several information boards hanging from the roof. We shouldn't try to read the small text because the important point is their function. We can simply say, there are information boards above the platform. These boards provide passengers with information about trains, departures, destinations, and other travel details. We can also say, a passenger is checking the information board. That's a useful expression for describing what someone is doing. Let's put the whole scene together. We could say, this is a busy railway platform with a train standing on the right. Several passengers are waiting to board, while others are already getting onto the train. In the foreground, a young man is standing beside a large suitcase and carrying a backpack. Further along the platform, travelers are walking with their luggage, and some are making their way toward the open train doors. Information boards hang above the platform, while benches provide a place for passengers to sit and wait. Notice how the description moves from near to far. We started with the person closest to us. Then we moved toward the train. Then we looked farther down the platform. This is another useful technique when describing a picture. Let's review the most useful words from this final situation. A platform is where passengers wait for and board a train. Board means to get onto a train, plane, or ship. Luggage means the bags and cases we take when traveling. A suitcase is one particular type of luggage. Make your way to mains to move toward a particular place. And remember the difference between busy and crowded. Busy describes a lot of activity. Crowded emphasizes the number of people and the lack of space. Now think about what we've done in these 4 situations. We started with a birthday party. Then we moved into a busy kitchen. After that, we visited a supermarket. And finally, we arrived at a railway station. In each situation, we didn't just name things. We learned how to describe where things are, what people are doing, what a place looks like, and how a situation feels. We also learned useful words such as Centerpiece, scattered bunting, ingredients, countertop, saucepan, spill, mop, aisle, cashier, checkout, browse, platform, board, luggage, and suitcase. But the most important thing is to use them. The next time you see a birthday party, a kitchen, a supermarket, or a railway station, try describing what you see in English. Start with simple sentences. Then make them more precise. Instead of saying, "There is a man," say, "A man is standing near the counter." Instead of saying, "There are things on the floor," say, "Wrapping paper is scattered across the floor." Instead of saying, "People are in the shop," say, "Customers are browsing the shelves." And instead of saying, "People are getting on the train," say, "Passengers are boarding the train." That's how simple observations gradually become better English. Thanks for watching Speak Flow. Keep looking around, keep describing what you see, and most importantly, keep speaking English.